Good. Audio should be good and up. Should be able to hear me. And it should be fine. Webcam, you can see me. We can see what's going on with the markets. And just got a couple of things here. Let me just see what the chat is. Ah, hi everyone. Hi Ruak, good to have you on board. Excellent, actually. Roberto, good. Hello, Usman, nice, thank you. You've got the sound. Hi Richard as well, fantastic. Cool. Okay, so Ruak, this will mean something to you. I'm doing it on ProRealTime today. I wanted to have a look at just go through the market's reaction. And I've got my live trading account open on the other side. So very quickly, so a couple of things. Very strong dollar. If we look at that dollar index, which I don't have in real-time data, but it's, it's broken through 105. It is, historically, there's not a lot really in its way up until probably towards 108, which is where it is now. If you get live data from TradingView or something, it's live. It's about that anyway. But euro dollar, euro dollar is that far away from parity. It was 70 pips away from parity this morning. And so there's a part of me that thinks it wants to touch on parity. It wants to, but is it overextended? Yes. Are we due for a correction? Absolutely. Do we have divergence in the indicators? Yes, we do. You could see sterling is very different. Sterling is putting on the brakes. Big move down, smaller move down, smaller move down. It's definitely trying to turn around. It's trying to put it on in this area. So for cable, it doesn't mean it'll succeed, but it is trying to do that. And if you look at that 4 hour, that 4 hour really is trying to push a lot higher. And when you compare that to, let's have a look at Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar is also trying to move a little bit higher. It's also trying to stay above that level. Kiwi dollar, dollar yen is, is genuinely trying. This could be a consolidation breakout. It's possible. But it does actually look, for the moment, as though with the bearish divergence, it looks as though it's tired. It really wants to break below these lows. So we'll see. It's very overextended. That's ridiculous. But we live in unusual times, right? We've got, for the first time, we've got, some currency pairs have broken out of their ranges. We've got fears of recession. We have got real inflation, but we can see some of the commodities coming back down. So we can see like gold is, gold took a bit of a hit. It's not bulletproof. It's still within its longer term. If we look at the 50 moving average, probably likely to keep going up. We'll see. Copper's taken a big hit. So copper has taken a really big hit. It hasn't had in a while. That's fine. So metals aren't bulletproof is the point. Brent crude oils are a little bit overextended, potentially wanting to come down a bit more. I mean, they still could stay within this longer term uptrend. We'll see. So the question, I guess, when we look at the markets is, we could have another correction. We could be halfway through the market correction, but this is the earliest point where I believe the markets could turn. It's the earliest point where I think they could turn if they're going to recover. So either that or we're going to move down to the low end. Anyway, but it's interesting. So when we look at the euro dollar, the question today is it keen to push down and touch parity? Statistically, there should be a reaction. There should be a whole lot of buy orders, because when the market hasn't touched a level in a very long time, usually there's a ton of orders at that level. So if it had to fall through that level, I'd be surprised. Anyway, so comments. Let's have a look. Any thoughts on that? Cool. Oh, so this one is ProRealTime. ProRealTime is my favorite. My background was back in the day, so this goes back 10 years, you had to pay a lot of money every month for charting software. You had MT4, which was around, but everyone was using CQG, which was like 300 to 600 pounds a month. There was eSignal, which I was using, which was anywhere from 100 to 300 pounds a month. There was TradeStation, which was also very good. And anyway, so I moved from eSignal to ProRealTime. ProRealTime is the closest to e-signal for me. I love it. You can either go through the website directly. I think there's a link in my bio somewhere if you want, or you can get an account with them through like IG Index, or there's a couple of other brokers that use them. I love it. I just find it very easy and intuitive. Build up my lists. I love the ability to do that. I can change my layout. So if I want to go to a split time frame, I can have different layouts like this. If I want to use a scanner, so I've got different ones here. I've got scanners that I can use as well, top and bottom, OHLC. So if I'm looking for stocks, for example, so then I've got a stocks one. And you can do all kinds of other stuff as well. Just thought I'd show you that. So this is where I do my daily, monthly, and weekly analysis. And so what I'm curious about today is to see if euro dollar will hit parity today, or if it's going to have a correction. So I'm curious. I don't know what anyone else thinks. Do I think Kiwi CAD, so this is called ProRealTime, yeah. It's very good. I love, yeah, and they're quite responsive. Do I think Kiwi CAD will continue to fall? Those are the levels I've got. I mean, it's such a messy chart, and it is in an area where it could find some support. Honestly, I'd need to see that monthly candle. If it finishes as a bullish candle, I think it's likely to have a correction. I mean, it is heading down. We've got bearish momentum on the indicators there, so that's still heading lower. There's a little bit of sort of divergence here, but not a lot. Price action looks like it's slowing down. It might be wanting, you know, when you get divergence and a correction, but we don't have the divergence there. But I want to see what that monthly candle is. Yeah, I mean, it's overextended. It's near a major level here. The next one that I've identified is down sort of at this area. So it's a tricky one. Dollar and indices are inversely correlated. Maybe another leg down for the S&P and Co. I'm going to challenge that idea a bit. You can have a strong dollar and a strong euro, and gold can be in demand, and stocks can be popular. So they are not actually necessarily inversely correlated. Just be conscious of that. You can have all the same. In fact, we've had that. If you look over the last few years, we had a strong dollar over the last year, and the index, it does that. But yes, you're right. Right now, with strong interest rates, high interest rates, and a bit of fear, there's a move to the dollar, and we can also see that there's a move down. I think that the correction in the markets is more related to the higher interest rates than to the stronger dollar. I think that the rate hikes will cause people who have got low interest loans that are using that money to invest in the markets, big institutions that are borrowing stimulus cash, low interest rates and stuff like that, they'll start to extricate their positions to take some profit. And so it's interest rates that really cause the markets to have a correction, which might also then subsequently move money to the dollar. But yeah, it's an interesting discussion. Yeah. So how's the market reacting? Sorry, let's go see. So it's an interesting one. I mean, just looking here, we won't really see, you'll see an initial reaction like this, and then you really get it settles in the afternoon. So it's now 1:30 London time. You will, but it's really about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So call it 2-3 hours from now, where whatever the trend is decides to settle in. Most of the time, it will push one way or another. So in other words, if it's correcting, it'll push up for the rest of the day until the market closes, or if it's going to follow through, it'll keep going. 20% of the time, it just goes into a bit of a coma. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen with that. Yes. I mean, higher interest rates are good for currencies. They do make currencies stronger. So the connection is there. But yeah, under certain, especially in certain conditions like now, you'll see that correlation. But if life is good, and economy is good, the dollar can also strengthen, and then you'll get inflation, but you might not have the higher interest rate. So it's like I said, it's a fascinating discussion. Ray Dalio has some incredible observations. He likes to talk a lot, but he's in amongst that. He's got some gold, some real good stuff. So let's have a look. How is Cable handling it? So this is Cable's daily candle. Yeah, it's pushing back up. There was a really nice, sterling is trying to stay above this level. It really is. Let's look at dollar yen. So again, dollar yen looks to me as though it's trying to continue to push up. The only problem is that if you look at it on the weekly, it's really exhausted. It's heavily exhausted. In fact, this implies that we will close lower by the end of day today, because there's a clear level of exhaustion at that point. But it is trying to push through and do that. So that 4-hour chart for me is quite interesting. This is bullish. Look at the MACD. The MACD wants to climb higher. That's really nice and bullish over there. And this is bullish. So that implies a stronger yen. Sorry, weaker yen. Stronger dollar yen is what I mean. A trending up dollar yen. So, yeah, interesting. So we've got that. Let's look at Kiwi dollar. Kiwi dollar's being pushed down, right down towards these lows. But you've got bullish divergence there. It's very interesting. Just waiting for that price action to react. Like, there's definite divergence. The markets are overextended, but you know, we are living in very interesting times. If I'm talking too much, just let me know. But I'm just going to show you this. Look at this. So if you look at this on a monthly basis, I was here. So this is where we had, this is 20, this point here where we broke through this level. Just going to do that. So we broke through here December, January 2014, we broke through that level. And this move was insane. It just went all the way from the top and just kept going and kept going and kept going. That was insane. So this move was very rare. Every now and again, we obviously seem to get a big move like that. Big move, and the dollar is just unstoppable. I mean, look at this move all the way up here. Just absolutely crazy. So could we move all the way down here? It's possible. It's possible. You know, we could have something like that happen. There's nothing to really stop us, and there's nothing stopping us from just going straight off a cliff and just doing that. It could happen. There were very few corrections or retracements here. It'll be interesting to see if we have a reaction. Parity is significant psychologically, though. I would say that is probably the most significant reason, and we haven't been below it since 2000, so 20 something years, call it. So it's interesting to me. And we've just broken out of this range. So I'm kind of saying that broken out of that range means we could continue out. We really could. It's possible. But anyway, just to be prepared for that. It's happened before, can happen again. And so I just want to kind of be aware of what could happen as well, is if the market comes here, has a reaction, pulls back up, connects with that and carries on down, we could just see a longer term trend. But this kind of a move is a little bit similar to kind of what we have here. So we could accelerate. We could just see an insane push. And I think just to be prepared for that as a trader, just be prepared for it, that it can happen. It's terrible if you're on the wrong side of it, if you've got positions you're hedging, but it's terrible for that. But it could happen. So, cool. I'm loving the interaction, guys. Anyway, so no, the comments, everyone's very quiet, unless I only get, there we go, switch it to live chat. Yeah. So but the good news is that if you're we could get some good trends in currencies. We really could. And I know I've said it to some of you, but not to everyone. But when I was learning how to trade, which is here 2008, there were some amazing trends, some really good trends, and that resulted in, I mean, if you look at, say, euro yen, go to that weekly chart, we had just long sustained trends up and down, and then it's really only been the last kind of few years where it's been largely range bound. And what was the other one? EURUSD. Look at this. EURUSD was incredible. I mean, look at what it's been doing just the last few years. But yeah, prior to that, I don't want to go and get more history, but we had just long sustained moves, and it was just terrible here. Let's go look at it on the monthly. Look at that. Long sustained trends. And then it was very aggressive. And then it really hasn't done as much in the last few years. It sort of has, I suppose, here. But yeah, so it was trading the end of day on currencies was profitable, and it was easy, and it was interesting. It was a different game, and it's changed since 2014. But I think maybe it'll go back. Maybe what's happening now is everything is getting stirred up, So like, you know, what's the expression kind of, you know, with the inflation and everything, although the market was doing well, and we don't necessarily have necessarily the same crises that we had in 2007, 2009, you know, there's still things that have to be fixed. You know, still too much debt. People haven't got used to, yeah, it's just a whole lot of things. Ray Dalio covers it really well, as does Michael Burry. So if you guys haven't seen, you must have watched The Big Short, so you'll know Michael Burry, which was Christian Bale's character. Him and Ray Dalio both, you know, talk about how inflation, they were all talking about how we were going to hit inflation because of all the QE. The QE ultimately caused it. A Swiss Mageddon-like event. You know, it's interesting, Roberto. I was interviewed with a fundamental trader, analyst, more of an analyst. He was quite good. I was really impressed with his profile and everything. And I'll see if I can find the recording somewhere. But I asked him the question. I said, "Do you think that's the case?" And he actually said, "No, there's no signs of it." Because usually they complain, they start broadcasting that they have an issue, that they might want to intervene, and you know they're that they might start doing that. And he said, "No, there's nothing like that at the moment." He said, and also that they apparently some of their economic factors are not as bad as they were before, so there's no real reason for them to do it. But it is interesting that their currency just continues to strengthen like that. So yeah, apparently there's no danger of it, but I would always keep an eye out for them as well. And I'm not really sure the Bank of Japan's plan, or I don't know what their plan is, because I mean, they seem okay. They're not really doing anything. They've got other problems on their plates at the moment. Yeah, so interesting. Hey, just interesting as to what's going on here. So euro dollar, is not giving anything away. If we go to the lower time frames, so 15 minutes, 1 hour, 4 hours daily, just to get a sense of that. So nothing just yet. There's the initial reaction, cable as well. You know, I mean, we'll see. We'll have to see. And also, I don't use trend lines, as you know, in the traditional sense. But I would say, okay, if we start to break through that, then I would think with the momentum is becoming less bearish. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious to see what happens. Look at that. So we broke to the low, bullish divergence so far. We'll see what happens. Kiwi dollar, also quite weak. I sort of feel like we got that stronger dollar and the market might just follow through. Dollar yen, look at that. Boom. You know, just a breakout. Dollar Swissy. Actually, dollar Swissy is a bit, and I'm actually surprised. That's a bit of a compared. But this shows you, because you've got that weakening yen anyway. Dollar Swissy not doing much. Dollar CAD, bit of a reaction. So dollar Swissy was muted in comparison. What about pound yen? So that's pushing up anyway. Euro yen, they're just pushing up. Yen pairs are probably, for now I guess, best to just trade in line with them. Look at Swissy yen. Usman, you were talking about Swissy yen ages ago. You were talking about this kind of look on the, was it the weekly or the monthly, where we just had a very, very steady trend. Yeah. Hi, Lawrence. I didn't do any trades today, but I will do another live session. It was great fun. I really enjoyed it. Probably, I might try and do it next week. We'll see. And then I'm off. I'm off. I'll be working remotely, but I'll be in Spain for a week or two before I come back, which just means I don't have my camera and my kits and stuff, but I'll still be working. I might try and do it from there. Kiwi dollar. So Kiwi dollar is still bearish. It's broken through that level. Yeah, there we go. There's your next one. Might as well head down to there. Hey, path of least resistance. So keep an eye on it down to 0.6. What's the other one? through. It did, yeah, it did, Ruak. This to me looks quite bullish. I mean, it's not terrible. Look at that price behavior, especially if we close up near the high for the week. That looks pretty cool, because look at how we did a move down and then a shorter move, and then we push back up immediately. So break up and then a bit of a wobble and then a push up. If we can break above that high, that to me means, you know, it'll attempt to do it. Look at the high low on the daily. It's trying. Doesn't mean it'll succeed, because, you know, this is a well-known trading pattern. I can't draw it, but this is a trading pattern where you get this kind of move up and then a higher low. So it looks as though it's going to change trend, and then it can't break that structure, and then it goes down. So I'm keeping an eye on it, but I think, yeah, to me that's trying. Look at we've got the Dow is trying desperately to push higher. That looks, so far, looks really nice and bullish. I think how they finished today is quite significant. That's also trying to push up a little bit higher. That also looks really cool. I think today is psychologically is quite significant. If the markets can close near the highs, we'll get a nice boost next week. If they don't, if they sort of fizzle out, then I think that, because now we've had enough of a market value correction. This is really interesting. We've had enough of a market value correction. The markets have come back in line with where their value is. So in other words, if you draw a line, you just kind of go through this. Just draw it right through the middle. I know it's a very simplistic, brute approach, but generally speaking, the market tends to orbit its true value. So it's coming back into that area. However, market sentiment can destroy that. So if we get to a point now where now the market was overpriced, but it's now kind of back in line with more or less where its true value is, but now we start seeing companies start to cut back, and then it's a cause and effect. They cause a recession because of doom and gloom, and then you get that pessimism. Then we could see a further correction to the downside, not because the markets are too hot anymore, but more because of capitulation and fear. And I don't like that word capitulation, because it means you just give up, but that is what would now cause another move to the downside. Whereas before, I'll always be the first one to say the market's overpriced. It's ridiculous. Like, it's going exponential. It's overpriced. We need a bit of a correction. And the more it obviously goes like into a bit of a exponential kind of curve, parabolic, then you're like, okay, the correction is going to be hard, because you never get a gentle correction from after it goes parabolic. And the Nasdaq was quite strong with that. You can see how it's now just sort of coming down. And yeah, any of these areas are still valid. For me, the stuff that looks the coolest is to look at it on a quarterly or yearly basis. This is great. Look at that. That's fair value for it to come back to. Look at it coming back to the moving averages here. That's fine. So where we are now, it sounds bizarre, but it is actually fair value. Could we come down further? Yes, we could. But where we are now, is that acceptable as a turning point? Would I qualify that as having let off some steam? Absolutely, absolutely. I think we've shed enough weight. That's good for that. That is just my opinion, guys. It is just my opinion, and that's why I say when the market's at the bottom, it's at its most pessimistic. You only hear the sentiment change like 3 months later. So the market would have to go almost all the way back up to the top before people would go, oh, okay, maybe we're in the clear. So there's always a lag between people wanting to say, okay, I think we've started to recover. Yeah. Did they? Okay, so sorry, Roberta just talking about the ES and NQ swiping the Asian session lows. Interesting. This, Lawrence, this is ProRealTime. So if you look up here, ProRealTime, it's great. I think it's in my description. So if you look at the description on YouTube, there should be a link there that you can click on and go. I love it. It's there's an end of day version that's free. The subscription costs are relatively cheap, but you can also get it subsidized through IG Index or through Interactive Brokers, and then it's subsidized. And then I have the premium version here, which is not ridiculous, but I like it because I'll tell you why I like it, because of the markets that I can go and have a look at. So I've got a wide, but it's more for analysis than anything else. But you can see, I can see, lots of different markets. You can build scanners, which is the coolest thing. And actually, one of the attendees now, Ruak, he's very gifted with the programming stuff. I can't do that, but yeah, you can code anything. So you could build yourself all kind of tools. You can have a portfolio that you can run from this, a stocks portfolio. It's incredible. And actually, if you get it subsidized through Interactive Brokers and IG Index, you can trade from this platform. You can just trade. So you can just do whatever you need to do. So it's pretty cool. NFP print is strong today. Yeah, means the Fed will go further with full steam. Yeah, it's not gonna hold. Yeah, it's gonna. The thing is can the stock markets grow with higher interest rates? Yes, they can. The term that Ray Dalio used was the markets have adapted. The world, since the 2007-2009 financial crisis, has become comfortable, lazy, and fat with low interest rates and lots of money being loaned. That's become the new normal, and quantitative easing. That's become normal, but it wasn't always the case. We've had long periods in the past where the market has done well, but the interest rates, the central bank interest rates, have been higher. So I think what they're trying to do now is to change the environment, the what would you call it, the atmosphere, to become more, to try to perform under higher interest rates. That's probably the only way where we can, over the next 10 years, 20 years, curb a global catastrophe, because we have got to be able to get used to saving money, and the inflation will calm down anyway, but we've got to get used to that. We can't keep going the way we are now. We just put it on the credit card, the whole time, which is what we're doing. And that wasn't always the case, but that has been the norm for the last, let's say, 15 years. We just can't do it anymore. Yeah, I think I've answered everyone's questions. We're done, guys. I just wanted to have a look at the markets and chat. Yeah. So, and as a rule, I don't trade non-farm. I won't. I will just watch it. I won't trade it because, there we go, it's pushing down now. We'll see. I won't do that because I think that it's too unpredictable. You don't know which way the market's going to go. It becomes very unpredictable. So I would rather just watch from the sidelines and then make a decision next week. But it is interesting to see how the market will react to that. We could still turn around, possibly, and go up. We'll see. But I think we're so close to parity. I'm curious to know what the market will do when it hits that. Yeah. I'm just looking at your comment work. Blasted from the open and left single prints might just be mitigation from that. Do I think Bitcoin will go up NFP prints are strong? Let's have a look. Just look at cable as well. Yeah, you see cables, they're reluctant, but the dollar has been like ruthless lately. So let's look at cryptos. Again, to me, this look is very similar to stocks, to the indices. It's the same idea. It's a small bullish inside candle, which, if we close that way, but we're a third of the way through the month, we would have to close that way by the end of the month. We're not there. Look, it's trying to move into an uptrend. It's more bullish than bearish. But if it's too weak, if it cannot, on the weekly chart, if we can't break up and go back up towards 30,000, if it just seems to try and fail, that implies we're likely to go sideways and then break down. Because then what happens is, if it can't break higher, then eventually there's a shift to bearish sentiment and it starts testing the lows. And so then it does this. So it's, instead of it trying to go higher and getting rejected, it starts moving down and testing the lows. And then you get, when they start closing near the lows like that, then you're likely to get a break to the downside. Because it's like, okay, well, we can't get up here. Okay, let's see if we want to go down. Because there's buyers below here, and there's, you need. So right now the question is, can we get, if I put in a line here, can we get buyers above here? In fact, it would be better to probably put it up here. There we go. And can we get buyers above here? Because it's interesting. Some people will only step in when the market gets to a certain height, like gold. They'll only buy when it gets above a certain level, because then they become bullish. They're bulls and they're waiting for it to be bullish. So that's why you've probably got buyers above here, but you've got to get it above that line for those buyers to start coming in. Yeah. Do I think that Bitcoin will rise and go up in value overall in the long term? In principle, this is a long discussion, but in principle, yes. In principle, I believe in the idea of a global, of a few more global currencies and digital currencies. Do I think, I'm thinking now that cryptos are maybe still in the very early stages of what they will be. When we thought they were 5 years ago, now we're thinking they're becoming mainstream. They are and they aren't. They're being accepted in some ways, but not in others. So this could be just part of the teething issues of what they're going to be. But in principle, everything else is going digital. Banks, even when the banks are starting to produce their own competing central bank digital currencies, it's done. The research is done. As far as I'm concerned, that is your proof that digital currencies are in our future. Were the Bitcoins in that? I think there will always be a non-banking, non-regulated option. That was the whole reason they came into being, as we're tired of the banks and the governments controlling our money. We wanted an alternative choice. Therefore, digital currencies offer that. So you'll be able to split your money between gold and silver and central bank currencies, and let's call them unregulated currencies. But that could be a bit of a cowboy thing. We'll see. We will see. Actually, what they would be is privatized currencies. That's really what it would be. So interesting. So in principle, yes, I do believe. But I don't know right now whether we're in for a hiccup. In other words, have we just if we look at this, have we just let off steam and we're going to recover? Or are we about to go into something new? Like, are we about to go sideways for a year or two? There's so many things that are good about the economy. So much good stuff in there. The question is, will it be contaminated by bad stuff? We're going to have to see. Lots of people on the planet, lots of people want to invest in the markets. I want to be optimistic and say, I think glass is half full rather than glass half empty. Cool. Guys, that's it. I'm going to wrap up, but that was great. I loved it. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions or anything? I'm going to wrap this up and end the live stream, but that was great. Thank you. And then when I'm doing a live trading thing, I'll post it up as well. So we can do a live trading morning. It would be great. Cool. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Rogue, thanks. Have a good weekend. Roberto, guys, welcome. Thank you. Richard as well. That was awesome. I enjoyed that. That's great fun. Cool. Okay. All right, guys, have a good weekend. You too. Enjoy. If you're in the UK, let's hope we get some good weather. Yeah. All right, guys. Cheers. Hey, Peter. Peter, thank you very much. Cool. Great.